The fog was thick that night. It rolled in from the sea, blanketing the land in an eerie silence. Visibility was low, the air was heavy with moisture, and a chill wind whipped through the trees, their branches swaying like ghostly apparitions. It was the kind of night that sent shivers down your spine, a night when anything could happen. The fog seemed to have a life of its own. It swirled and eddied, obscuring everything in its path. It was as if the night itself was trying to hide something, a secret, a mystery. The fog was a shroud covering the world in darkness. Perched atop a windswept cliff, Carrington Estate loomed large. It was a Gothic mansion, dark and imposing. Its silhouette was barely visible through the dense fog. For generations the mansion had been a place of whispers. Locals told tales, stories of it being haunted. Some said it held lost treasure, others claimed it was cursed. Tonight the estate was alive with light and sound. A party was in full swing. It was the 80th birthday of its patriarch, Edward Carrington. A man of wealth and influence, he was a figure both respected and feared. The party was a grand affair. Guests dressed in their finest attire mingled in the mansion's opulent rooms. The party was in full swing. Music echoed through the high-ceilinged halls. Laughter and conversation filled the air. But beneath the veneer of celebration there was an undercurrent of tension. Something was wrong. A sense of unease hung in the air, as palpable as the fog outside. A gasp rang out, breaking the festive mood. It came from Mrs. Carrington, her face pale with shock. The gold antique key was gone. It was a family heirloom, passed down through generations. Legend had it that the key unlocked a hidden vault within the mansion, a vault containing secrets that the Carringtons had guarded for centuries. The clock chimed midnight. Detective Eleanor Graves arrived at the Carrington estate. The fog was thicker now. It clung to her trench coat as she stepped out of her car. Her sharp eyes scanned the scene. Something was amiss. Mrs. Carrington, her face etched with worry, greeted the detective. Her voice trembled as she explained the situation. The key was last seen in the library. No signs of forced entry. It was a puzzle, a theft that seemed impossible. Section 5, Whispers and Lies. The library was a grand room. Bookshelves lined the walls, reaching up to the high ceiling. A fire crackled in the hearth, casting dancing shadows across the room. Eleanor surveyed the scene. She examined the lock on the library door, finding no sign of tampering. Eleanor began her investigation. She questioned the guests. Each one had their own story, their own secrets. Whispers and rumors swirled around the room. Jealousy, greed, and long-held grudges bubbled to the surface. Everyone was a suspect, and no one was above suspicion. Section 6. A Portrait and a Clue. Hours passed. The investigation continued. Eleanor felt no closer to finding the key. Frustration gnawed at her. She paced the library, her eyes scanning every detail of the room. It was then that she noticed it. A discrepancy in the portrait of Edward Carrington hanging above the fireplace. The portrait depicted Edward in his younger years. He wore an ornate key on a chain around his neck, a key that was identical to the missing heirloom. But there was something off about the way the key was painted. The brushstrokes seemed different, as if it had been added later. Section 7. Unmasking the Past. Driven by a hunch, Eleanor examined the painting more closely. She ran her fingers over the canvas, feeling for any irregularities. And there it was, a slight bump behind the painted key. Her heart raced as she realized she had stumbled upon a hidden compartment. Carefully, she pried open the compartment. Inside, she found a letter yellowed with age. The handwriting was elegant, almost faded. It was a confession written by Edward Carrington himself. The key, it turned out, was not meant to protect treasure. It was meant to protect a secret, a dark secret that had haunted the Carrington family for generations. Section 8. The Weight of Truth. The letter revealed a shocking truth. The key unlocked a hidden vault, yes. But the vault didn't contain riches or jewels. It held evidence. proof of a crime committed by Edward's father, a crime that had been covered up to protect the family name. The key was a burden, a reminder of the family's dark past. Eleanor confronted Mrs. Carrington with her findings. The truth hung heavy in the air, suffocating the last vestiges of the celebratory atmosphere. Mrs. Carrington, her face pale and drawn, confirmed the contents of the letter. The weight of her family's secret, a secret she had carried for years, was evident in her eyes. Section 9. Case closed. The mystery of the vanishing key was solved. There was no cunning thief, no outside intruder. The culprit was the family's past, a past that refused to stay buried. The missing key was not about stolen treasure, but about a legacy of deceit. As the first rays of dawn pierced through the dissipating fog, Eleanor Graves left Carrington Estate. The case was closed, but the secrets she had uncovered would forever linger in the shadows of the grand mansion.